Now, you're probably watching this and wondering, Stephanie, why are you on live opposite SmackDown? That's because I'm on here to do a double dose episode of Steph and Kat Talk WOW. There is so much to catch up on. The tag team title picture is just all in an uproar. There are conspiracies going around the WOW locker room, and the WOW World Championship picture continues to get very, very complicated, okay? So that's the reason why I'm on here opposite your favorite Blue Brand show. This is Steph and Kat Talk WOW.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fade, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus.
Hey y'all, welcome to a new episode of Steph and Cat Talk WOW, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, HWP Extra, and co-host of this fabulous platform, Steph and Cat Talk WOW. And I'm also a contributing writer for Daily DDT and color commentator and panelist. Book your girl, book your girl, book your girl. And sadly, I'm alone because my friend Katrina, my tag team partner, who I love very dearly, is off dealing with some family stuff. So let's send her good love and good vibes as she continues to navigate things. But of course, life be life, and sometimes. But what matters is how you respond to it. And Katrina, if you know Katrina, she is a strong, amazing woman, and she is able to push through all of life's challenges. So we're sending her and her family great vibes and all kinds of love. So that leaves me to have to host this fabulous show on a Friday night opposite SmackDown. I know, for those who are watching who really love the show and love me, thank you so much. Thank you for watching on all of our live platforms. And of course, you can watch this later once it goes live on both of our YouTube channels. And yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting the show, for sticking with us even when schedules change and all of the above, and just continuing to just support us in all of our avenues. So, some news about WoW actually came out today when it was revealed by Paramount Global distribution that WoW and NWA would be featured on a fast channel. So congratulations to WoW and NWA for that. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to affect the 24-hour WoW channel that is available currently on Pluto TV. But either way, I think any other way in which WoW is accessible to people or to fans, I am absolutely here for it. So big ups to WoW for more accessibility to its fans. So that's a little bit of WoW news we have going on there. But I'm here to talk about two episodes that aired over these past 2 weekends. The first being Three's Not Company, and the second being Tricks and Titles, which aired last weekend. So, the episode Three's Not Company started with the first match between Coach Campanelli and Xena Phoenix. Of course, Coach Campanelli is still part of the first ever Wild Trios champions championship team known as Top Tier, with Gloria Glitter and Crush, formerly known as Candy Crush. And they've just been sort of on a rampage to try to prove that they are the best team in all of professional wrestling. So, in the midst of all of that, they've just been going on a warpath against the dojo defenders and any person that sympathizes with them, and terror strike who they injured. And one of those people is Xena Phoenix. So the Albanian grappler got started with this match by grappling and getting the upper hand over Coach Campanelli with takedowns, using her bottom half of her body with her legs. Coach Campanelli kept trying to grab she actually grabbed Zena's foot mid kick and swung her into the mat face first, and that was very brutal because, of course, top tier is doing this new thing where they not only want to take down their opponents, they want to embarrass them and beat the crap out of them and injure them. So it really felt like there were lots of malicious points in this match where Coach was just trying to just destroy Xena. But of course, Xena kept fighting back as Coach got the upper hand throughout the middle part of the match. Xena actually kicked Gloria and Crush out of the way as they tried to interfere on Coach's behalf. And then she hit a series of Japanese arm drags and hit a monkey flip onto Coach. She hit a high knee lift snap suplex to Coach Campanelli, and then finally hit a sunset flip pin for the 1-2-3. And Xena Phoenix wound up winning. But in the midst of Xena Phoenix winning this match, she could barely celebrate because in the midst of all of this, Coach Campanelli wanted to call a conspiracy against the entire WOW locker room, saying that she demanded a recount, she demanded replays. There's no way that Xena could have beat me. She was screaming over and over again. And it was crazy. It was almost like you were watching like a coach or a manager of a baseball team get into it with an umpire. It was really insane watching coaches act this unhinged about losing a match. This is the most angry we've ever seen her, the most aggressive we've ever seen her. And you would think that it would get better, but of course, as this episode goes on, you'll realize that it only got worse. So, either way, Xena Phoenix got the upper hand here. I always enjoy watching Xena get into it with a lot of the girls that we've gotten used to seeing on WoW because she is a newer superhero. She is such an amazing wrestler. She um grapples with the best of them, and I just love watching her style going up against all the other WoW superheroes. And she was one of my favorites to possibly be the WoW World Champion this year. But of course, things got, you know, a little bit different and the WoW title picture started to change. But either way, she's still somebody who I am on the lookout for in terms of rising above and having a fantastic year as we get further into it. So Xena Phoenix won the match, but Coach Campanelli lost her mind and had a meltdown. So we'll get more into it later. So the second match was actually a tag team match between Chainsaw and Daisy Lane, formerly known as Pep Riley, going up against Chantilly Chella and Foxy Fierce. And in this moment, when I was watching this match, it bummed me out because I really do. Well, I miss her sister Foxy. Let me repeat that. It was Chantilly Chella and Roxy Fierce, not Foxy. I miss Foxy Fierce so much. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know if she got injured or something, but either way, I miss seeing her tagging with her sister, and I also miss her singles work as well. So hopefully at some point within this season we'll see the return of Foxy Fierce. Um because she is definitely one of me and Katrina's favorites in terms of the WoW locker room, and I just miss her very much. But I am falling more and more in love with her sister each time I see her wrestle because she just continues to just get better by leaps and bounds and continues to just use her strength in all of her matches. So Chainsaw and Daisy Lane, of course, have come together in their shared darkness and their shared passion for their dark sides and everything. So now they've come together, and Chainsaw believes that Daisy Lane is the embodiment of the doll that she had when she was a kid. So now they've come together to form this really unhinged team. And of course, in this match, Roxy and Chainsaw started it off, and Foxy Fierce actually, well, not Foxy, I'm sorry, Roxy. I keep getting them mixed up. I don't, it's their names sound alike. Charge it to my head, not to my heart. Was actually shoving, Roxy was actually shoving Chainsaw, and the Chainsaw actually shoved her back. But then Chainsaw actually threw Roxy into a ring corner, but then she moved out of the way and hit a stinger splash onto Chainsaw. Roxy is not afraid. She showed us in this match that she is not afraid of any bully and not afraid of any wrestler that is bigger than her. And I really appreciated seeing that level of attitude from her. But then again, it really wasn't that surprising considering she is the same woman who busted us
It
off.
feels amazing. And our message to Animal Instinct is that cheating gets you nowhere. Tell him something, sis.
Your little sister did a hell of a job tonight. What's it feeling like to get the victory with your big sister tonight, Foxy and Roxy?
Let me tell you something, David. It feels sweet and fierce, okay? Y'all tried to cheat the Fierce Sisters? Is you out your mind?
Exactly. Is you out your mind? And of course, anybody who is trying to push her around is outside of their mind. And Roxy definitely did try her best to fight and flip Chainsaw into a pin. But of course, in the midst of this, Chainsaw was able to tag Daisy. And Roxy actually showed some amazing moves here by actually locking Daisy Lane's arm, and then she tagged in Chantilly, and then they both hit a double elbow drop for a 2 count. Roxy and Chantilly Chella showed really great tag team chemistry, but when it comes to the unhingedness of Daisy Lane and Chainsaw, they basically just utilized all of their power and all of their craziness to get the upper hand on both of them. At one point, even biting Roxy and Chantilly as they fought in the match. And sadly, it was to no avail. And Daisy Lane and Chainsaw wound up winning after Chainsaw threw Daisy Lane into a splash. And then and then she hit a choke slam with a spinning crucifix splash, and that's how they won that match. So since Daisy Lane and Chainsaw have gotten together, they have just been absolutely dominant. They haven't really lost a lot of matches since they've gotten started with as a tag team with each other. And it makes me wonder if they would even want to go after the tag titles, or if that's even in their view at this point. Are they just having fun and just being crazy? I don't know. But either way, Daisy Lane and Chainsaw got the upper hand, and I am it's just crazy to watch them be so unhinged. But in the midst of it all, they won. So after this, we went to match number 3, which was Fury versus Holiday. And on guest commentary, we had Vicious Veronica Varoom, aka V3, as I call her. V3 has been expressing interest in starting a tag team, and she's been scouting Fury as a possible team member, because, of course, she's looking for somebody to mesh with her jammer vibe, because of course Vicious Veronica Varoom used to be, or probably still is, a roller derby girl. And she's just looking for that perfect person to mesh with. And also, a very funny moment that happened on commentary was when Veronica actually taught David McLean how to I feel like I'm gonna do it wrong, but or something like that. And it was just hilarious how they were doing it with their tongue, like blah or whatever. I can't do it, and I feel like, I don't know, people could do it a lot better than I could just do it just then. But either way, it was really hilarious to listen to someone as fun and as hip as Vicious Veronica Room teaching someone from the old school, the OG David McLean, how to, make the brat sound. It was just really hilarious. So, also, as Holiday made her entrance, V3 decided to mention the idea that when it came to dark magic and hanging out in cemeteries, that Houdini was actually buried in a cemetery in Queens. And this was something that I hoped I could be able to talk to Katrina about, considering she's the resident New Yorker on the show. But, we're just going to leave that part alone and maybe talk about it on another episode. So, this match between Fury and Holiday was very hard hitting. Both women locked up and shoved each other towards the beginning. Um, Fury tried to take down Holiday with knees to her abs, but then Holiday um, went for a lift and a fall away slam and a leg drop for a 2 count. Fury tried to hit a running knee and a headbanger's ball onto Holiday, but then Holiday actually ducked a kick. You can tell these women really know each other in terms of what they have to offer. They, of course, might have studied each other after years of fighting one another, and you could tell, and it was really good and very hard hitting. But eventually, Fury got the upper hand by shifting Holiday's momentum for her um, Flight of Fury, and then she hit a schoolgirl roll up for the win, and Fury wound up winning. So this was really a great showcase for her to see if she might want to be in a tag team with Vicious Veronica Varoom. But I was always of the notion that I always wanted Fury to sort of stand on her own and possibly get in the WoW world title picture. Because at one point she did mention wanting to have like a solo career, but even after that, she always wound up in a tag team again. And I was just like, girl, like, I want so much more for her. But, that's not something I can control. So, either way, Fury won the match in very dominant fashion, and V3 approved. So, for all we might know, Veronica might ask Fury to be her partner. So, we just got to wait and see what happens there. So, before we get to our main event, on this episode of WoW. They showed a recap of the journeys of Genesis, with the chip on her shoulder of trying to prove herself after distancing herself from exile, and wanting to show that she deserved to be on top in the WoW division, as well as Santana Garrett wanting to rise up and be the champion that she knows she can be because she's been it before. And then you have Paola Mayfield and her star power that she brings to the WoW locker room in terms of her notoriety in the reality TV show world. So with all of these different factors combined, it sets up the main event, which was the triple threat match between Paola Mayfield, with of course Abilene Maverick coming out with her, versus Genesis versus Santana Garrett for the number one contendership for the WoW World title currently held by the Classmaster. So, in the midst of this, the Classmaster and Samantha Smart are on commentary. They're just running down everybody, talking trash about all the women in the ring, even though they are talking about how what each woman brings to the table. They're not really saying exactly who they would prefer to face for in order for the Classmaster to keep the WoW World Championship, but either way, they were just being their snarky, smart alecky selves. But this match was pretty amazing um in the sense that all of these women showed a lot of what they had to offer. All of these women were giving the best of themselves. There were lots of super kicks, lots of grappling. And then, of course, you had Paola, who wants to be the show pony of the match, just not really doing a whole lot to try to get the upper hand, but still at the same time trying to be crafty in gaining the upper hand where she could. She reminds me a lot of Ethan Page if you watch NXT or if you've seen him in AEW, where he'll wrestle, but not like wrestle, but then like use an opening that somebody else might give, or an opening that his opponent might give in order to just knock them out in the simplest of ways that you don't expect. That's kind of what Paola Mayfield does. But in the midst of all of this, um this match ended in a double tap out with submissions from both Santana Garrett and Paola Mayfield. And Genesis loses by tapping out to both submissions that both women had locked in. The referee talked about how essentially Genesis was the one who tapped out to both ladies. So that means that there were two winners. So in the midst of this, David McClain decides that they're going to be there's basically going to be like a final two. He's treating it kind of like a tournament, how there will now be a final two. And now Paola Mayfield and Santana Garrett now have to fight each other for number one contendership, considering they both made Genesis tap out. This frustrated me in the moment. because I wanted there to just be one number one contender. And I wanted it to be Santana Garrett because she won the match fair and square against Genesis to win it. But yet Genesis was just whining and crying and talking about how the odds were stacked against her when she lost fair and square. So in my mind, I'm just like, so no, like I just wanted Santana to just win it outright, but her and Paola decided to try to get the upper hand on Genesis. Genesis wound up tapping out to both of them, which I can only imagine is probably demoralizing and embarrassing for her after everything that she went through and talked about in terms of the chip on her shoulder. And now it's left to just Santana and Paola. Lord have mercy. So now those two have to fight each other for number one contendership. And I am really hoping that Santana gets the upper hand and that there aren't any crazy shenanigans to get in the way of that match because I want Santana to possibly take the title off of the Class Master. She is a WoW OG and she definitely, to me, deserves the opportunity because she's had to jump through so many hoops due to Paola and Genesis running their mouths and talking about how they deserve the opportunity for so many reasons outside of what's in the ring. So, yeah, mm, it's really crazy, but hopefully we'll get an answer either this weekend or in the next few weeks to see who will finally qualify to face the Class Master. So that was the end of that first episode, Three's Not Company. And now we're going to move into the second episode. Let me say again, thank you guys for watching me, even though I know I'm counter programming with the Blue brand. Thank you guys so much for watching us or watching me, live talk about what's going on. So, Tricks and Titles aired last weekend. And let me just say, happy belated Mother's Day to everyone who celebrated it, especially happy Mother's Day to Katrina because she is definitely a super mom to three wonderful souls of children. And I just respect and love mothers so much, especially my own and my two grandmothers in heaven. And I'm just so, thrilled that we're in a world where um, women can craft the lives of other women and also of other men for the best in most cases. And I just, celebrating Mother's Day this past weekend was really emotional, but it was also really great. So happy belated Mother's Day to everyone, including Kat. So this episode started with the WoW Tag Team Champions, Penelope Pink and Holly Swag, coming out with Lana Star. And it started with Holly cutting a promo saying, I got something to say to that Princess Aussie and Tormente. And it was so funny because, girl, Tormente, Tormente, that was so funny. It's Tormenta, but okay. Holly is crazy. Before we kick your butt in the main event tonight, I think you ought to know what you've gotten yourself into, all right? You might have beat Sweet Heat, but you know who you didn't beat? That's right, me and PP. And we're the best tag team that this Fab Four has ever seen, all right? We're like two peas in a pod. Ever since we got together, we've been rocking and rolling like Bobby's shake and bake, baby. And as long as we're together and I've got my secret weapon, we're going to be tag champs till this company goes out of business. To which David Mack said, well, it ain't going out of business, baby. I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't because that would seriously depress me. Um, anyway, Penelope Pink chimes in and says, ladies and gentlemen, take a look because you're looking at a history maker. I am on a short, exclusive list of women in WoW who've held both the WoW World Championship and now the WoW Tag Team Championship. And guess what? That's why I'm the best damn thing WoW has ever seen. And then Holly interrupted and said, no, PP, you said it wrong. We're the best damn tag team WoW's ever seen. And then PP was like, that's my line off of the microphone. So they were just being crazy. So in the midst of this we go into match number one, which was Crush coming out with Coach Campanelli and Gloria Glitter, her top tier buddies, going up against Kara Kai of the Dojo Defenders. So they recap and talk about how Ashley Blaze and Tara Strike were injured and taken out by top tier, and how Kara Kai and Xena Phoenix have been sort of carrying the mantle for the both of them since they've sustained their injuries, and they've just been fighting them on one action. And Crush immediately tried to go for a waist lock, but then Kara starts wailing punches down on Crush because there's so much frustration from all of the beef that they've gotten, that they've had to go through. And Crush was caught off guard by this, and she had to roll out of the ring and regroup with her group mates, with Coach and Glitter. And then Kai was able to light up Crush with a bunch, with a level, with a whole lot of kicks for a 2 count. And then she hit a Hurricanrana to Crush with more kicks. She was not playing any games with Crush. But of course, in the midst of this, as they were trading punches, Crush decided that she was going to give a slingshot, chop, and an elbow drop. And then Crush rained down clubbing blows and then um, tripped and then she got tripped up by Kara into the turnbuckle. And Crash here again was trying to beat up on Kara and actually put her in an arm bar, but then Kara was able to and roll out of the hold and then hit a clothesline and a Northern Light suplex on her. And then as Kara Kai misses a kick, Coach tried to give Crush the upper hand by pushing her into a cover, but then Kara turns the cover around and reverse the pin in order to win. So here again, you have two members of top tier who have lost in pinning combinations to both Cena Phoenix and Kara Kai. And Coach was not having it. Like y'all remember just a few minutes ago when I was telling y'all about how Coach was screaming and talking about how it was a whole conspiracy. This is where she gets off the deep end. This is level 2 of the deep end. Coach was protesting, no, that was another fast count. This is ridiculous. Crush should be the winner. You know what? I'm starting to think that there is a conspiracy. The refs are involved. Nigel Zane is involved. David McClain is involved. We are champions. Katie Marie is involved. We are champions. She was accusing everybody on the WOW staff of trying to hold them back from winning. And I'm just like, girl, that's literally not what's going on. You guys are not locked in enough. You guys think that just because y'all been beating up on people and bullying folks, and because you have retained those trios titles so many times, that now you can just rest on your laurels and just not be locked in on different wins and different pins and stuff. And it's just so sad that now she feels like there's no losing that they should have. They kind of remind me of, no shade, but Alabama Crimson Tide fans, whenever they lose a football game, it's like they just can't handle it. They just lose their mind and be like, oh my God, we're not supposed to lose ever because we've been so dominant for so long. But nope, you can't rest on your laurels. You got to continue to sharpen your skills if you want to prove that you're the best team in professional wrestling, like you keep saying you are. But they're not locked in. So now they got to accuse people of conspiracies. If you don't calm down, like, what are you going through? But in the midst of this, after this, we go backstage and we see Holly Swag talking to Lindsay, who it seems like they've sort of made up after everything that happened with their tag match a few weeks ago. And Holly is sowing discord amongst Lindsay and Lori, saying that they both have been talking trash about each other and how they look in their outfits and everything. And I'm just like, why would you do that to two twin sisters who hang out with each other all the time and do nothing but compliment each other? Like, you're just stirring up mess with them. And it's just so weird that she would resort to that. But Holly Swag has really just been acting weird ever since she ditched her mom for them. So it was just sad to see. So after this, we go backstage with Sibley Skulls, who interviewed the WoW Trios champions top tier. And they were completely dismissive of her mentioning their singles losses, and they accused Sibley of being a part of the conspiracy. And they were just being like hella rude. to Sibley, and I'm just gonna need for them to stop. Don't be rude to Sibley because she is only back there doing her job and interviewing you guys and getting you guys' input on what's going on and speaking the truth. But it just seems like a lot of wrestlers these days don't like broadcasters speaking the truth about them. So they're either attacking them or talking trash to them. And the same goes for WoW. Like top tier is bullying Sibley, and I'm gonna need for them to stop. As a fellow broadcaster, y'all need to chill. Okay, please. So after that, we move on to match number two, which was Scout Parker versus Sugar. And but of course, Sugar is one half of the tag team, the Mighty Mites with Spice. And Spice has not been on these last few episodes because she's been celebrating her graduating from college with two bachelor's degrees. And let me just say, congratulations to all of the graduates that I've seen on social media. You guys have been kicking all kinds of butt, and I'm so proud of you guys. Graduating um, is such a huge accomplishment because, of course, it takes so much work over the course of a couple of years, 4, maybe 5, depending on what it is you're studying, if not more. And when you graduate, it feels like the best feeling in the world. So, congratulations to everybody. So, including Spice. So, in the midst of this, um, Spice, I mean, Scout and Sugar locked up, and Scout Parker actually grabbed Sugar's hair and shoved her into the ring corner. And I was just like, oh, so we playing dirty early. Okay, but then Sugar twisted up Scout Parker with a hammerlock, but then Scout tried to fight out, but then she tripped into a pinfall attempt for a 2 count. And then Sugar flipped onto another pin attempt, and then Scout was looking kind of dizzy afterward. But then she stepped on Sugar's leg in order to get free, and then they traded headlocks. Scout Parker actually shoulder tackles and kicked Sugar for a 2 count. Then Scout elbowed Sugar's chest and threw her into the mat and yanked the arm and yanked Sugar's arm and kicked her face. And then Sugar and Scout actually rocked back and forth into multiple pinning attempts, which was kind of interesting if you were watching it or if you go back and watch the match. It was funny kind of seeing them rock back and forth and trying to pin each other. Um, it's something that's also been happening in WWE a bit too with the women as well. Sugar was able Well, actually, Scout Parker dragged Sugar away from the bottom rope after she locked her in a Boston Crab. But then Sugar finally got free and then locked in a head scissors DDT to Scout and a Bulldog. And as Sugar was lifting up Scout Parker, Scout raked her eyes and then landed the acai DDT for a 3 count, and Scout Parker won the match. So here lately, Scout Parker has been on a tear because she did also beat Valentina. I forgot her last name, but she's also a newer WoW superhero. She beat her a few weeks ago, and now, of course, she's defeated Sugar. And I'm just like, Jesus, okay, Scout. Scout has always been a really great wrestler, and she is someone who you've sort of watched evolve since she came onto the scene as Ice Gold. And she just continues to get better and better with a lot more of her grappling and wrestling work as well as her high flying. And I can't wait to see more of what she has to offer as she continues to grow as a singles competitor because here lately Sprout Greens hasn't been with her as this season has progressed. We've only seen Sprout Greens maybe once this season, but either way, Scout is doing her best and it's really cool. Um and she's winning, so you can't really beat that at all. So then we get a recap of the double submission that Genesis sustained to lead to the new number one contender match between Paula Mayfield and Santana Garrett that I mentioned earlier. And then we get a recap of the tag team title picture, um, which of course fed into the main event with everything happening with Princess Aussie and Tormenta and Big Rigs and Bourbon and Miami Sweet Heat and Penelope Pink and Holly Swag. So this leads into the main event. This episode actually only had 3 matches, um, which is really rare when it happens on WoW because usually WoW is composed of 4 matches with a lot of storytelling in the mix of it. But sometimes they'll just throw in just 3 matches with a whole lot of other story too, and that's fine. But it kind of caught me off guard. But either way, this episode only had 3 matches. So we go to the main event, which was Princess Aussie and Tormenta versus Penelope Pink and Holly Swag with Lana Star for the WOW Tag Team Championships. And as I was watching this match, I couldn't help but wish that David Mack enforced the presence of Lana Star and Holly's sock of rocks. It's just like there have been so many times where we've seen Holly brag about using the sock of rocks in the match, and there's no disciplinary action for it. And then on top of that, there's never any disciplinary action for the fact for using Lana Star either to get the upper hand in their matches. And I just really wish he would say something, or I wish there was a general manager who could say something and enforce, fairness on behalf of the other teams, but it just never seems to happen that way. And it's weird. It's so weird. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So, this was actually a really great tag team match. The match started with Princess Aussie and Holly, and Aussie actually put Holly Swag into a headlock. Um, And then Holly Swag would try to twist up Ozzy's wrist, only for Ozzy to reverse it. And then she nipped up out of the lock, and then she wound up putting another headlock onto Holly, and locking in an arm twist with shoulder tackles. Princess Ozzy had the upper hand in the first quarter of this match. It was really interesting to see, but then Holly was so desperate to get away from Princess Ozzy that she scrambled and tagged Penelope Pink. And this is where I got excited because if you remember a few years ago, um, Holly Swag and Penelope, well, not Holly Swag, Penelope Pink and Princess Aussie wrestled a banger of a match on WOW television um 2 years ago. And I remember it because it happened the weekend of my birthday, and it happened right before WWE Payback, and it was right before um the match with Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch in a steel cage. It was amazing. I felt like I got treated to 2 amazing women's matches in one Saturday. It was amazing. Like, if you ever want to give me a gift, women's wrestling is the gift. And I love it. It was really great. It was a treat. So seeing these two lock up against each other again was magical, and I will just never forget it. I posted about it on social media as I was watching the episode. So I never get tired of watching Princess Aussie and Penelope Pink lock up against each other. Also, congratulations to Penelope Pink, not Penelope, but Princess Aussie, because she actually did some motion capture for WWE 2K25. And she did Julia's, and I love it. I love that she does mocap, and I keep telling her one day she's going to be in a WWE video game as herself. Let's keep manifesting that. So as they stood across each other, they talked trash and shoved each other back and forth. And then they were ducking each other's hits until Ozzy hit an arm drag series to Penelope Pink. And just every time they scouted each other's moves, it was just so nuts in this tag team match. I just never get tired of it. But then eventually Ozzy did tag Tormenta in, and then both women tried to double up on Penelope, but then she stopped by hanging on to the ropes to get away from them. And then Ozzy hit a cutter to Penelope Pink through the second rope, but then Holly broke up the count. Tormenta went on the attack to Penelope, blocked a kick attempt from Penelope, and then elbowed Penelope's chest and hit a drop kick to Penelope Pink's back. These women were all over Pink and Swag. But of course, in the midst of this, you already know there's going to be some shenanigans in there. And it wasn't even just Lana Star getting the upper hand on them, it was also Lindsay and Lori coming out, and it seemed as if they were really just trying to get inside the heads of Penelope Pink and Holly Swag. But in the midst of this, as Tormenta picks up Pink and knocked out the ref, Tormenta covered up Penelope, but then Holly hit her in the head with those sock of rocks as she had her covered. And then Lori snatched the rocks, and then Lindsay winds up hitting Lori with the rocks, and then Ozzy tried to pin Holly, but then she kicks out, and then Holly covers and then grabs Ozzy's tights for the 1, 2, 3, and Holly Swag and Penelope Pink are still our WoW Tag Team Champions, all thanks to the interference of Miami Sweet Heat and Lana Starr, but mostly Miami Sweet Heat because they were out there trying to ruin that opportunity for them, only to make that opportunity better for them. The Fab Four is just falling apart in such a crazy fashion, and I would say you hate to see it, but then again, I don't. So I'm hoping that Lindsay and Lori will finally just free themselves and go back to being who they once were before they joined up with Lana Star. Um, and just make the Fab Four, I guess, the talented three. I'm not sure. But either way, I hated this for Princess Aussie and Tormenta because they had an argument to contend for those tag titles because they didn't get pinned. And I was really hoping that we would see more gold around the waist of Princess Aussie and gold around the waist of Tormenta, who has not been able to win any gold since she's been on WoW, since me and Katrina have been covering WoW. It just sucks. Like she constantly tries, but just never really gets up to that, higher level. And it's just so sucky. And you hate to see it. But the Fab Four are just bound and determined to keep gold around their waist and um just damn everyone else. And it's just so sad. But that was the end of tricks and titles. So, which means that we've reached the end of our time together. So, thank all of you guys for watching me live talk about these past 2 episodes of WoW. We really just needed to catch up and stay consistent. So, hopefully, next week we'll be back on track and back on schedule. Of course, if you want to watch WoW, you can go on wowe.com. That's WOWE.com. Type in your zip code and see what channel it comes on for you on regular television. Or, of course, if you watch Vice TV, that also airs on, I believe, Wednesday nights, if not Tuesday nights. I think it's Wednesday because Dark Side of the Ring airs on Tuesday nights. So watch it on Vice. You can also watch the 24-hour channel on Pluto TV, and you'll be able to watch it on a fast channel pretty soon as well. And just support the girls, support their merch, and just support women's wrestling as a whole, not only on television and not only in the mainstream with WWE and AEW in the larger places, but definitely in the indies too, because a lot of those stars in the indies are definitely working their hardest because they love what they do. And they're working for the larger opportunities to get to someday. And also create safe spaces for women too. Create safe spaces for women, not just in wrestling, but just in life, period. Because being a woman can be really tough, and there are people who want to take advantage of that. And that's not to say that we can't fight for ourselves, because we can, but at the same time, you know create safe spaces for them and for us, so we won't have to fight as hard. And that's really all I have to say about that. So, in the meantime, in between time, know that you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. So please, please, please subscribe, and tell your friends whenever you see clips, share clips, and all of the above. And follow Katrina at NCAT We Trust everywhere. That's INKATW3 with the ETRUST everywhere. And continue to support her in all of her wrestling endeavors as well. So, and also read all of her stuff too, because she's a really amazing writer too. So read her stuff with Daily DDT and also buy her books. And also read my articles on Daily DDT as well. And continue to DM and book me for commentary or anything else that you might be interested in for wrestling stuff. So, this has been Steph and Kat Talk WOW, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye y'all. Have a good weekend.